before we actually get to the agenda of the applications. Now, I want to make a couple of announcements. The first is that calendar 3676-19, 20 Park Road, the applicants are Joe and Lisa Romano. That matter will be heard on September 16 at 7 p.m. at our regular meeting in this room at the municipal building. There's another matter that we've heard before that was originally supposed to be heard again tonight. It is not being heard because of deficient notice, and that will be advertised again, and notices will be sent out.
That's the one at 332 Lupine Way.
That's 32 Lupine Way.
332.
332 Lupine Way in Short Hills, calendar 3690-19. And finally, calendar 3706-19, Liu and Zhu, 31 Elmwood Place. That is calendar, as I said, 3706-19. That matter is also not being heard tonight. It's being carried to the evening of September the 16th at 7 p.m. in this room at the municipal building. All right, we have, before we get to the two matters that are on the agenda tonight, we have a approval of minutes that were circulated, minutes of the meeting of June the 24th, 2019. Anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I had some corrections, but I sent them in
You-
last week.
And I think that another set was circulated
Yes.
with your changes. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June the 24th?
Move approval of the minutes of June 24th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of June the 24th, 2019 are approved and accepted as corrected by Mary McNett. Now we have two memorializations on tonight, and before we vote on those, our attorney is going, in the absence of our secretary tonight, is going to indicate that when I call each matter, who among the five of us heard the matter and voted affirmatively. And if you hear your name, you are eligible to make the motion to approve or to second it or to vote on it. If you do not hear your name, please do not make the motion or second or vote. The first is calendar 3688-19, Jessica Shen at 18 Mountain View Road in Millburn.
Eligible members are Mary McNett, Jessica Glatt, and Joseph Steinberg.
Okay, only the three of us can participate in accepting this memorializing resolution. Any additions or corrections to that memorialization that was circulated? Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval, calendar 3688-19.
Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. McNett?
Yes.
Ms. Glatt?
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg?
Yes. The second one is Yehoshua Benjamin at 23 Woodfield Drive, calendar 3702-19.
The same three members are eligible to vote.
Any additions or corrections to the memorialization that was circulated? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval of calendar 3702-19.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Ms. McNett?
Yes.
Ms. Glatt?
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg?
Yes. All right, now we're going to reverse the order of the two matters that are on the agenda tonight. So the first matter we're going to hear is calendar 3704-19, 6 Farview Road, Min Fang and Shun Wang. I'm going to ask that anyone who's going to testify come forward and we'll swear the witnesses in.
You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And your name, sir?
Ahmed Imara?
Are any of the applicants here?
Yes, Min Feng is right there.
Okay, fine.
Your name again, sir?
Ahmed Imara.
Would you spell your name, please?
Ahmed. My last name is Emara.
Are you an architect, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right, and we need you to give us your qualifications, education, background, and experience.
I have a bachelor's in architecture. I'm licensed in New York and in New Jersey. I've testified in front of many boards in New Jersey, such as Chatham and Jersey City, and historic boards as well.
And is your license in good standing?
Yes, sir.
Your qualifications, excuse me, your qualifications as an architect are accepted by this board.
Thank you. Sure. You got it. So, 6 Farview is the case we're discussing tonight. The block is 707, lot 14. And I'm going to go quickly through what the project is about, and then we'll go through the plans. The project, the original house is a mid-century modern designed by architect Milton Klein in 1960s. It was built in the 1960s. I believe he built other projects also, other buildings also in the town. So that's what we were brought to us in the beginning, and the idea is to put an addition between the accessory building, which is a detached garage, and the main house. And the addition is a small mudroom that connects the two spaces. So when the owners basically park their car and have their groceries in the garage, they can have an easy sort of way that's weatherproof back to their back to the main building. So this is the set that the board, I believe, has reviewed. This is the survey of the existing property, and the lot area.
Let me just stop you.
Yes,
The
sure.
plans that you have on the board
Yes,
are identical to the plans that were submitted with the application?
correct, with the exception of one sheet that I'm going to mention
And
as soon as I get
you'll
to.
identify that sheet so we can mark it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure. So, the lot area is 20,000 square feet, which it's 20,000 square feet, 20,028 square feet, which exceeds the minimum required. The lot width is also 100, which meets the requirement. The lot depth is 202, which again exceeds the minimum allowable. The front yard, this lot has frontage on both sides, and it meets the setbacks on both frontages. The side yard, which is the matter of our variance tonight, is on one side. The existing yard is 12.4 feet, which is about 12 feet 5 inches. And that's the existing condition, which is already an existing non-conforming condition, because the minimum setbacks are 15 with a total of 35 for both sides. The other side, if measured to the
Total of 35% for both sides, correct?
35%, yes. If the other side, so the one side, like I mentioned, is 12.4. The other side over here, if measured to the existing existing building here, is 27.5 feet. And if you're measuring to the right now detached garage, is 17 feet. And this hatched area right here is the area that we're discussing for an addition for the mudroom.
Before you move on,
Sure.
can you tell me what the setback is to the existing dwelling?
Yes,
Because
sure.
that's not marked.
It's
This is-
27.5 feet.
27.
Oh, 27.5 feet is to the dwelling, not
To-
to the addition.
Yes. it's
Okay,
the dwelling.
thank you.
You got it.
And the garage is set, the existing garage is set back from the property line
17 feet.
17 feet.
Right. And the minimum setback is 15.
Right.
So this is once again, this is the site, this is the existing condition here, the 17 feet, and this is the 27 feet that we just spoke about, and this here is the 12.5, and this is the detached garage, this is the dwelling, and this would be the addition, and I'm gonna specifically talk about that and on the next sheet. This is the sheet that's not in the set that you guys have.
Let's mark that A1
Sure.
with tonight's date.
Now, is that not in the package at all?
No, it's not in the packet at all.
Okay, so that is going to be sheet A00, A001 point, dot one, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's right there, actually. And I'm gonna put today's date next to it.
Yes, and then tell me the date that that, plan was prepared,
This plan was prepared yesterday.
August 4th.
4th. And so what we're showing here is this, the red here is the addition, which what we've elected to do is basically not to encroach, and so the line here and the line there are the minimum setbacks on the lot. The addition here does not exceed the minimum setback. In fact, it actually aligns with the face of the existing garage. And I'll show here in the enlarged plan, we actually set back here for the entry to demarcate that. The addition itself is actually glass. It's mostly glass and some stone. And we wanted to do that because we didn't want to compete with the architecture of the existing house. We wanted to sort of have a very minimal addition that doesn't overpower the house. So in elevation, it's actually not the same height of the house. It's lower. And also in plan, it sets back. It aligns with the face of the garage right here. And on this side, it's almost all glass. On this side, it's glass. And then we have a little bit of a stone wall right there. The addition will be taking, to construct the addition, we would be taking down 2 trees that are in this area. And the plan is to replant those trees further out around here in this area. So we will be taking down 2 trees and replanting them, or planting 2 other trees. If possible, we were just speaking about that. If possible, move the trees. We can do that. We've done that with other projects, but depends on how big the tree, how old the tree is, and the actual physical size of the tree. And then, if not, then we would be replanting 2 other trees.
And those trees would be evergreens?
Yes, the idea is to plant evergreens to just keep with the idea of privacy along the perimeter of the lot here. So the addition itself is a mudroom. This is the door into the existing garage. And this is the door into the existing kitchen. Previously, this was just open space, so they had to walk outside to go back inside, which was something that a bit of a hassle in everyday life. And with this addition, we've created this comfortable space, weather-proof and controlled, where you move through your garage into the system building. Now, to get into specifically the variance, the existing, on the one side, like I mentioned, was 27.6. It becomes 17 now that the garage is part of the main building. Now it's one structure, so we measured to this here, and it would make it 17. Again, it exceeds the minimum setback, which is 15. It puts it at 17. On the other side, nothing is touched. Actually, there's nothing, we don't affect anything else on any of the other sides of the house. But the fact of the matter is, because there's already an existing non-conforming condition on the other side, then we are below the 35 total. And that would be, that's the variance that we're asking for tonight.
And how many feet is the variance?
The variance, if a total of 35 feet, we are down
35%.
35%.
35%.
Which would be, in this case, would be 35 feet.
I was gonna say it's in this case it's 35% and 35 feet. We are 6 feet short, and so 29%, 29.4% exactly.
Can you tell us, roughly speaking,
I thought it was 27.9%.
the house is 27.9, right?
I'm looking at attachment B, combined side yard setback. The zoning officer indicates the proposed combined side yard setback is 27.9%.
27.9%. That doesn't, one second. 17 and 12. 29, yeah, 29.
They're saying it's 29.4.
Yes, the application says, attachment E says 29.4, and she says 29.
She says 27.9.
27.9.
It's just considered the worst.
The total in feet would be 29, 5 inches. So if we do that the same exact way, we did the 35 into 100, you get 35%, 29.
Okay, but the front of the property is not 100 foot wide, it's 65 feet, right? Where
No.
did you measure, like, you,
The property,
I have property at 100. Sorry. Yeah, you missed it.
that's at the street line.
At the street line, it's 65, right? I can't, here, no, it's 65 plus 36.
101.
yeah, so it's not 65. 65, this is.
But my point to you is,
Yeah,
I think I'm not sure whether it's 35% of the lot width. Lot width is measured at the front of the dwelling. So it's not measured at I believe it's not measured at the property line. It's measured at the lot width at the front of the dwelling. So there's no dimension on the plan for that.
lot width is measured at the lot line. I wouldn't say that it's measured at the front of the
I
dwelling.
don't believe that's true in Millburn, but I'll look at the ordinance.
Yeah, if we can,
But your property's not 69 feet wide, this property's 100 feet, at least.
so 65 would say here to this point, because of the straight line, and then it curves.
Yes, and it comes
So the
to,
straight line is
it comes to 65, comes to 101.54 feet.
The horizontal distance between side lot lines measured at the minimum required building setback from the street line. So you have to measure lot width 40 feet back from the front property line in order to come up with the lot width. And then combined side yard setback is 35% of that lot width. So I understand what you're saying,
Right.
but the zoning officer has determined that the variance that you require is to
It's
27.9%.
I see that now.
I'm concerned that if the board grants you a variance for 29.4%,
Right.
you're not going to have the variance that you need to construct this connection between the house and the detached garage. So my suggestion
For
is
27, you mean, or for 29?
that it would be no less than
Right.
27, that the board consider granting, if the board's inclined to grant the variance, that the board grant the variance for no less than 27.9%. And we are going to obviously identify the plans, that construction be based on the plans. So whatever the plans are, that's it.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
I'm just trying to make sure we cover.
No, I
this.
think that's a great point
That's
because if that number changes on our side and your side, we need to have something that works, and then the
Right.
plan governs all of that. So I agree
Okay.
with that.
I have one question for you.
Yes,
Can you estimate the distance from the property line to the house, the nearest house on the left side of this house? That is, if you're standing at far view, looking at the house of the applicant.
Right, on the left.
I'm talking about the house on the
Here.
left. Can you estimate about how far that is?
When we did a quick measurement on Google Earth, because we don't want to get on the property, it was about 60 feet.
About 60 feet.
60 feet from the property line?
No, 60 feet from building.
From your house?
Yes.
From building to building?
Yes,
Right.
from this point, basically.
Right, mm-hmm.
Any other questions from board members? Now, would it be appropriate, or would your clients be willing to accept a condition that once this addition is completed, that they plant not less than 3 trees, not less than 6 feet tall evergreens between the property line and the new construction?
I think that's something, yeah, something they'll definitely be willing to accept.
Yeah.
That's something that we've already been talking about in
Right.
terms of planting evergreens along the property line. They're taken down 2, but I think they want to add more than 2.
Well, one of them that's there now is a beautiful
It is.
tree, but you're not gonna move it, it's 20 feet high.
It's too big.
No, that's what I was talking about earlier. I said depending on the
Okay,
size, but
I'm
yes.
saying not less than 10 feet in height.
Yeah.
From the top of the.
Right.
Not less than 10 feet? You first, I thought you
You
said
said
6
6.
feet.
You want 10?
No, I think he's talking about the existing.
No.
You're talking about new plantings.
Yes, new plants.
You want 6 or 10?
I'll go with what the board members think is appropriate.
I like 10.
10?
Yeah.
10?
Yeah.
10.
10 feet above the
10
roof
feet
wall.
above
10
the
feet of the
wall.
roof ball.
So
10 feet
not less
above.
than 3 trees, not less than 10 feet, not less than 3 evergreen trees, not less than 10 feet tall above the root wall.
Above the
That'll
root
be
wall
placed
that
in
goes
the
into
side
ground.
yard prior to the issuance of a CO.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from board members? Is there anyone in the audience who has
The
any?
purpose of those trees is to buffer or screen that,
Yes,
so we want
Yes.
them planted in the area, in
in
that
the area
area.
where the
Where
new
it's being-
construction
yeah,
is
yeah.
being.
The trees are being removed.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where,
Yeah.
one of the trees that's
And
there
we
now.
can also, what we can do is for the resolution compliance plans, we can add where we would be locating the trees along this way, so we have that also in the drawings that are reviewed by the city.
You mean in the construction drawings?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments with regard to this application? If not, board members, is there a motion?
Wait,
I'd like to make a
We just-
com- I'd like to make a comment.
Comment.
Just for the record, I wanted to take note of the fact that you have preserved the integrity of that original structure by putting in, connecting with glass, and that creates a dividing line between the original structure that is really becoming historic.
Yes,
And,
of course.
And it defines the new area from the old area.
Yeah, that was very important to us, to preserve the old and celebrate it as is.
Right.
And then the addition to clearly, to show that it's an addition, that it's new, that it's from a different age.
Yes.
That way, that's clear that the old building is the old building, and
Yes.
it's
and while you
beautiful as
have
is.
that there, you're gonna need to leave me that plan that we marked as A1.
No problem,
Okay.
sure.
Is there a motion?
Move approval of application with combined side yard setbacks set at 27.9%. And 3 trees,
3 evergreens.
3 evergreens to be planted 10 feet high above the root ball, near the proposed, addition. Got that?
And other than the construction.
Yes, between the new,
Yeah.
Yeah, the new
Construction
construction
and
and
And the
property
property
line.
line, yes, I followed what
is there a second?
Second,
Ms. McNett,
yes.
Mr. Whitener,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Ms. Glatt,
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg.
Yes. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
All right, there's one other matter before the board tonight, and that's
You're gonna give me that plan, remember?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I'm not gonna take it.
Cow and Ying. And whoever's gonna testify, let's get the witnesses sworn at the same time.
No, it's not. Too late.
Okay, who is going to, the two of you?
Yes.
Or three?
Uh,
Who's testifying?
2 hours.
All right.
You want to swear them both at the same time?
You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Sure. Thomas Baio, B-A-I-O, architect for the app.
Ming Ying.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could just pass it to Ms. McNatt and she'll pass it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ming Ying. People also call me Michelle. We are here tonight to apply for the variance to build the extension of our house. We lived in this house since October 2010. It has been 9 years now, and since we have more family member, since then we do need more space. We hired Mr. Bayo to help us to do the design and to help us to achieve our need. Yeah.
Okay. I'll explain what we're seeking to do.
Well, let's,
Yeah, you have to be qualified.
Okay.
yes, let's get some of your education and background.
Sure. Thomas Baio, been licensed as an architect in New Jersey. In September, it'll be 29 years. I've had a continually operating practice since then. I remain in good standing with the New Jersey Board of Architects, and I'm licensed in multiple states. I've appeared before your board and many other boards over that 20-plus years.
And your license is in good standing.
It is.
Your qualifications as an architect are accepted.
Thank you.
Now, before we proceed, I just want to make the record clear that there are 4 variances that are being sought. One of those variances, floor area ratio, is what is known as a D variance. And it requires 5 affirmative votes. Unfortunately, we only have 5 people here tonight. So that means a unanimous vote is required if we go to a vote on this matter this evening. The other 3 variances require a majority vote. Again, we have only 5 people here, a majority is 3, that's 60%. Normally, we have a full board of 7, where 4 votes is a majority, which is about 57%. So it's a little more difficult even to get a C variance than it is with a board of this limited number. But let's proceed and see where the matter goes.
Yes, I explained it to my client. Thank you very much for the clarification. So, I have 2 exhibits tonight. I have one, which is a photo board of photographs taken by me earlier today, which includes a Google map of the overview. And I have a second, which is not really a submitted exhibit. These are my notes on the original architectural plans which you have before you. It has not been changed since the application arrived in your.
So are you submitting that as an exhibit?
No, I'm using it just to explain my own notes to me.
Okay. Explain them to you. Okay.
Are you going to be submitting the photographs?
Yes.
Let's mark that board
A1.
A1 with tonight's date. And after you go through the photographs, I'm going to ask that you go to one end of the board of the table or the other, and we'll pass it along to look at it.
On the photo board, the center picture is the subject property. That's our house. These are the 2 houses on the same side of the street to the left, 2 down, next door. And these are the 2 houses to the right, next door, and then 2 down. The 2 middle photographs are views across its backyard with a little bit of whiteout to
signify where the addition is being placed relative to the current house. The two upper pictures are just views, one of the back of the house and one of the back of the yard, so you can get to see the property. And the center one is the Google Maps showing the subject property and the street. We are on the part of Meadowbrook that starts, the Meadowbrook everyone seems to know is Glenwood here, but then it takes a hard turn, and so the property is right at the end of that first curve. As Michelle said, she's a family of 4. They would like to have another child. The house is a relatively small home. Its current building size, its current first floor is 1,005 square feet. 190 of it is the garage. So if you can only imagine the limited size of the house, this is the basement. They have effectively a 815 square foot first floor. They're a little tight as a family, and so the first floor addition is an important element of this project to get them the square footage that they need. We are planning on taking the first floor from a usable 815, again not counting the garage, to a usable 1,295, counting the garage, or 1,105, sorry. They're going to go from a usable 815 to a usable 1,105 square feet. So the first floor addition is about 290 square feet. We're building completely above that as well for the second floor. And the purpose of the second floor expansion is to take the house from 3 bedrooms, shown on my demolition plan on sheet 8-3, to 4 bedrooms to reflect their family planning over the next year. The 4 variances being sought are for accessory structure relative to the side yard. So the patio, which is a grade level patio, is only 9.85 feet off the property line because it aligns with the side of the house. It's kind of tight, 12 is required. So that's the accessory setback variance. The other 2 variances relate to rear yard and rear yard area. On my plan, I've kind of highlighted a very small triangular section of our addition that actually causes the rear yard setback, because the rear yard setback requirement is 19.16 feet, and our application is for 16.66 feet. As you can see from the Google Maps, the backyard is heavily buffered with trees and plantings, and that almost 3 feet is important to us, but it is a variance. I just want to point out, I don't think it should be looked at as a very strong variance. The next one is the rear yard unoccupied. The maximum allowed is to have 25% open rear yard. I will point out that the shape and nature of this property, a lot of the property is a side yard. Only the rear yard is calculated based on the size of the projection of the house relative to the rear yard lot line. So it's unfortunately characterized as a very small triangular area, and of that rear yard unoccupied, we're seeking a variance because we only have 20.5% of the property versus 25, which is required. So our rear addition effectively eliminates our rear yard unoccupied requirement, but understand that in the context that we have a wonderful open side yard. This application also has a floor area ratio variance, which is probably the most difficult and most challenging for me to explain. It is very important that you note that we are building completely within the confines of the house. The addition that we're doing is entirely behind the house, not into the side yards. We're trying to retain open space. From their standpoint, this is not really visible from the street. It's not really visible from the neighbors because of the heavily buffered backyard. And it's, I think, rather mild in the sense that if we're approved tonight, they're going to get a 2,562 square foot house, whereas previously it was 2,236 square feet. So they're adding 320, sorry, let me get this correct. The current house is 1,872 square feet, and we're proposing 2,562. For a family of 5 in Short Hills, and I understand we're in the R6 zone, a 2,500 square foot home, 2,562, of which 190 is the garage, is
2590 or 2562? 2562, I see it.
2562, 190 of that is the garage. So now let me explain how we came about with our addition. As shown on sheet A1, the new basement is effectively under our new addition. We're tearing down an existing sunroom. The sunroom we're tearing down is 123 square feet, and the addition we're putting on is 289 square feet. Is 400 and, sorry. Yeah, we're adding on 413 square feet, of which 123 is the former sunroom. So the net number for the addition is 289 square feet. 290, actually, 289.5. So that allows them to take the back of the home currently from a room width of 12 feet to a room width of 20 feet. So it's an 8-foot addition that adds on to the family room and kitchen, and then the breakfast area juts out from that point. The first floor doesn't really have a dining room. So the breakfast area that's encroaching into the back is very difficult to make any smaller, otherwise they can't entertain. They have a small office in the front which they use for home occupation and the kids, and then the door. So the entire first floor is just this breakfast room, kitchen, family room, and a small office. So while it is imposing in the R6 zone, because the variance being sought for FAR is 41.2%, whereas 36% is allowed, it is really hard to get that number to come down. We did discuss an option of not going all the way out with the bedroom. I generally like to put house over house. It just makes for the travel of electrical, structural, water, a little bit more consistent. The room upstairs that's being added on for the children is pretty long. It is possible to bring that in a few feet without having too much of an impact. But as Michelle has stated to me, for her needs, having this first floor, it really accomplishes everything that they've been looking for 9 years and living there. That is the extent of my presentation.
Tom, when you looked at that option to cut back on the second floor, which would help your floor area ratio, what could you get it to?
We spoke about that earlier tonight. And I mean, this children's bedroom is bigger than the master. The master that's being sought is 13.8 by 13.1, whereas this room is 12.10 by almost 19 feet, if you count that little jog for the entranceway. The actual bedroom area is about 15.5, almost 16 feet net. So we talked about bringing in 3 to 4 feet from the top. For a building width of 15 feet 4 inches, 3 feet's about 45 square feet. Which,
And what would that take your percentage down to?
let me get my
You're
calculator.
at 41.2.
Well, the lot is 66,
62,1185.
62.11. Okay, so let's see. Brings it down by 1%. Is that right? Yeah, not even 0.07%.
Yeah.
So the variance being sought goes from 41.2
40.5.
to 40.5. Though slight. So, I mean, for the most part, I think what we've planned here, and if you think about it in the context of additions, is very tight. It's not very big at 2,500 square feet, 190 of that is garage. It's within the confines of the side yards. It's a very well shielded backyard, and it really imposes very little impact on neighbors. It tears down the existing sunroom, which you saw in the photos. I mean, they use it because they have nowhere else for the kids to play, but it's a rather decrepit sunroom that's in the back here. So when you net it all out, while we are imposing a big floor area ratio, it's not, the addition is, in my opinion, as an architect, moderate, not extensive.
You said on the rear setback that you highlighted something on the plan showing the extent of the deviation.
Yes.
I'm not seeing that.
Okay, so if we look at the cover sheet C1, you will see that the rear yard lot line and the house are askew.
Right.
The requirement of the rear yard setback is 19.16 feet. Our addition as designed is 16.66. It literally disappears at the one corner because of the askewness of the property relative. So if you imagine that the impact is most pronounced on the right side wall and almost not pronounced at all on the left side wall. It's this small triangular area. That one and the rear yard unoccupied are both factors because by going this far back, we're actually imposing our own rear yard unoccupied because we have such a small area of backyard. When you calculate it, it goes parallel to the addition for this triangulated area. So we don't. Two of the variances are really small in the sense that the shape of our addition brings them about. The patio one is neither here nor there. She's actually indicated that she would bring the patio in a couple of feet if the board was so inclined to look favorably upon the application with perhaps some compromises.
I have a question for one of you, either of you. I went back there and I found it very difficult to figure out how much of that shrubbery is evergreen. It looked to me as if a good deal of it was not evergreen. And therefore, even though it looks in the middle of the summer as if the neighbors would have a tough time seeing this addition, I'm not so sure that that would be true in the wintertime.
Yeah.
You want to come to the microphone, please?
Here, Michelle.
Sorry. Just want to confirm, you are talking about the
Yes,
trees?
do these keep their leaves all year long?
Yeah, all seasons,
So these are
All
evergreen.
season or
Yeah.
all year?
all year long. During winter, they are the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the way around?
No,
Just on the
the backyard.
The backyard.
line. As you can see, let me refresh Mr. Steinberg's recollection here. As you can see on the property lines, both on the northern and southern property lines, the trees are more like forsythia, or a deciduous leafy tree that does lose its leaves. But both of the neighbors have encroaching additions that go past our rear yard line, rear line of the house, and materially probably don't look much bigger than the left and right neighbors. So the photographs that look both north and south illustrate that the houses next door actually come a little further back.
But at the rear, the shrubbery is evergreen.
Evergreen. Where's the other one?
It's in Boy Scout camp.
Oh, he's in the Boy Scouts.
And also, I have to say something. The existing house is very small because the square footage already counts in the garage on the first floor. So we have 4 people in our family, but we only have one 4-bath and one half-bath. It's really hard.
Yeah, part of the
Yeah.
application is to introduce a master bath on the second floor.
So you go from 3-bedroom, 1.5 to 4-bedroom, 2.5.
Yes. There's no intent on putting any bathrooms in the basement. It's just for them. It's just.
We also plan to have another baby, so we do need 4-bedroom.
All right, board members, any other questions?
What is the common area in the attic? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, the height is really restricted there. I showed the area because I want to have full disclosure that when you have a gable roof, we're not going to 32. We're going to 31.
Right.
The area up there created, I think it's like 6 feet 6 inches. So the ridge is at 6'8". Bottom of the ridge is 5'8". So the area up there is under 6 feet tall. Mostly for their, storage. storage up there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a walk-up attic.
The existing staircase is a walk-up attic. So the existing attic is kind of tight in here. So we're just allowing the two to be connected through a little common roof area that permits it.
Any other questions? Now, you indicated, as I understand it, that the applicant would be willing to cut back some of the area on the second floor of new bedroom number 3, is that correct?
That is correct. Earlier today, we had a meeting, and I flat out said we have a very large FAR variance. While it's not a big house, the FAR is what it is. And so we strategized on where we could compromise should the need come up. And I say that because we've been very transparent with them. They're nice people because there's no misintention of what the application's all about. It's really for their family. I've been before this board with other applicants, and it's never really, there's a lack of honesty sometimes. So that bedroom need not be that big. It's that big because I put walls over walls, and we tried to keep the addition behind the current house. So they were willing to cut that back if the board so favorably looks upon this application.
And how many feet?
I had suggested 3 or 4 feet, which at 15...
3 feet, you said would be 45 square feet, which would take it down to 40.5%.
That's right.
40.5 instead of 41.2.
Correct.
Yeah, which is a variance of 4.5%. 4.6.
And what about the patio?
Well, the patio right now just goes up and aligns with the house. It's such a silly thing. We had indicated that we would bring the patio into conformity, eliminating its variance entirely.
Yes.
The requirement is 12 feet. We're at 9.85. That would require that we bring the patio in 2.15 feet, which is about 26 inches, 27 inches. And
Without going farther back, which would increase your rear yards.
Without going any further back. Just
So which variance would that eliminate?
Accessory structure
Accessory
setback.
structure setback.
Correct.
Right, for the record, is the applicant willing to withdraw that variance?
Yes,
Yes.
I do. Yes.
Are there any other questions from board members? There is no, let the record show there is no audience here.
Yeah, we love our neighbors. And we have been there for 9 years now.
I'll close the public portion of the meeting. Board members, what are your thoughts? We have a floor area ratio variance now of 40.7,
40.5%.
40.5, it's 0.7 less, correct?
I think when I went over, when I originally looked at the plans, it just seemed like they were asking for a lot, but then when I went over to see the house itself, you could see that, you know, besides the house needing to be updated, you know, and despite the kind of larger than usual floor area ratio request, you know, it's overall modest addition, and it's in the back, where it's not gonna really be visible from the front. I'm happy that they were able to get rid of the accessory structure, and I'm happy that they could reduce the floor area ratio somewhat, so I'm leaning towards being in favor of it. I'd like to hear what my other colleagues have to say.
Well, I was similarly inclined when I saw the application, and I thought, oh my goodness. But the house is small, the neighborhood has small houses in it. And, you know, there are a lot of capes and things like that on Meadow Brook. But there is the factor of updating the house for modern living. And, so I'm more inclined to think favorably of the application. I'm not totally there yet.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in the same spot. We have a house that's gonna be 50 feet deep on the one side. We have an oversized lot. And it's still gonna be pretty big with only a 16-foot rear setback. So, I'm not sure I'm sold yet. It needs to be pushed over the edge.
Kevin?
I'm similar to Mary and Jessica in terms of initial concerns, but I appreciate their willingness to compromise on a couple things. And you look at this house and it's still pretty small when you're thinking about a family of 4 or 5 people trying to live in that house. So I'm this afternoon I was sort of, I don't think so, but after discussions, I think I'm favorably inclined.
Does that leave me?
Yes.
Let's see what you got.
Right there.
I thought that with the addition, there was a lot of house on this lot. But I am impressed by the fact that the applicant is willing to reduce the size of the second floor addition. And totally withdraw, which they've done, the accessory structure setback. So we're talking about, now these, the rear yard unoccupied, that's a pretty hefty variance. It looks like, I mean, it's 4.5%, but you have to look at it against the maximum permitted.
The minimum requirement.
I'm sorry, the minimum required, not the maximum permitted. But I think that if the other 4 members of the board are willing to go along with this revised application, I'm kind of inclined to go along with it.
Mr. Steinberg, can I just add a couple of
Sure.
sort of closing points?
We have
So-
to reopen.
We have to reopen the hearing.
Yeah, we have to reopen.
So
Is there a motion to reopen? Second, all in favor? Go ahead.
Thank you. So we know that the house is large for the property, but at a net living area of 2372, and for a family like this who's been there for a lot of years, it's not about extended living with arrangements with outside family members. I would ask the board to look lightly upon our application as not overly bearing, and they've been very accommodating. When we talked this afternoon about eliminating some square footage, she really wants her first floor. She wants that open kitchen family room, which a lot of people want, and really should be entitled to. I don't think this house is large by any measure. It's not getting any wider, so its presence is afforded by the design, that it doesn't impose any further on the public. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I've got to call for a motion.
Well, I want to make sure.
Yes.
I thought Jessica was a yes. Mary was a probably yes. Craig
Craig was
was not sold yet. Kevin was probably a yes. And Joe was yes if everyone else is inclined, he'd go along. So I just want to make sure you want to vote.
I'm trying not to come back, and the next time, if we were to be able to adjourn and come back, it would be, from what I heard from Eileen, it could be October.
Oh, it would definitely be October, I
Yeah.
can tell you, I was looking at the
And-
book tonight.
And when I spoke with Mr. Steinberg, and we debated it, I said, I think if we're flexible, we should meet about it, and that's why we met, and that's why we came forward with the way we did. I would love to see this board vote on it, just to,
Okay, but you understand that if
Yeah.
if you don't get all 5 yes votes, then in order for anything to happen here, you'd have to come back with a substantially different application.
or downsize the FAR, or eliminate it.
Well,
The law is that you have to
it would
come
be
back
res
with,
judicata unless you make enough change that it could be considered a
course.
substantially different application.
Yes.
Okay,
Are you okay?
just give me one more minute here.
oh, I have to get my sheet ready anyway. I'm wearing all my hats today.
If they didn't vote, you're not building this before next spring. And with,
If they reduce the second floor bedroom, does that also reduce the breakfast room
No.
underneath it?
He's gonna offset it.
Or is that also-
well, that's possible.
The reduction to the bedroom, you're gonna take it off the rear wall.
Directly.
Mhm.
Yeah. My client's just indicated that if it would help any of the members, she's willing to go 4 feet instead of 3.
She's a mind reader.
Okay, but then we need you to do the calculation again.
Okay, and I will. It's at least 33% more, right, or 25%. The reduction would be 61.2 square feet divided by the lot area, which is 6211. That's a reduction of 0.98. I would effectively call it 1 percentage point, bringing the requested floor area ratio variance from 41.2 to 40.2. Yes.
And what would be the dimension of that bedroom?
The dimension would, so in its rectangular usable area, because I counted on the entrance door, the bedroom interior is 16 feet, would go down to 12. So the bedroom would become 12 by 12:10. More likely, it's much more similar to the front bedroom. Yes, 12 by 12:10.
So the extent of the variance on the floor area ratio is now
40.2%.
of the extent of the variance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Instead of 55.1%,
Right.
it's now
5.2. 5 point,
no, it's 4.
oh, 4. 4.02.
On the second floor, do you have a sink and a closet?
Ooh.
That's what it looked like.
Is there a sink in there?
Oh, yeah, it's originally, when we bought the house, there's a sink in the closet, but we don't know why, and we couldn't figure out if it was originally a bathroom.
As a
But it's
condition of
very,
approval,
very
we'll be willing to
old.
demo the sink.
Yeah,
There's,
but it's kind of weird, but we don't know why.
That's weird, yeah.
we would accept that as a condition as well to eliminate it.
fix to bring this to below 40. Cut the,
I mean, it's 40.2.
yeah.
That's like another inch or two.
Okay.
My clients indicated that if it would so help the board further to be pushed into over the edge, that she's willing to accept a maximum floor area of 40 as opposed to 40.2. I don't even know how to begin to calculate this one.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't know where you,
Where
do
you
you
getting
know
it?
where you would get it from?
It's like another inch or 2 inches. I'd have to figure this out.
Well, you don't have to figure it out, because if she's saying she'd accept a floor area ratio of 40%, you could figure it out when you submit revised plans, because you would have to submit, assuming the board is in
Yes.
favor, you'd have to submit revised plans anyway.
Okay, so then let it be said that we're willing to accept a reduction of the floor area ratio to a flat 40%, whereas the requirement is 36%. So we are 4% over.
Does that affect either of the other two variances?
Not really, because if you think about what the other two are, it has to do with that breakfast room. They're only dining room in the house.
Yeah,
Right,
And
right.
that's not gonna change.
correct, they don't really want to change that. This is the only room they have.
Yeah.
But I will.
Mr. Bale helped us to design the house totally based on our needs. So it's, when we discussed this afternoon, we thought about it, but really hard to cut any footage on the first floor.
I understand what you're saying, your testimony, but the problem is that variances are not based on the personal needs of the occupants of the household. So we understand your situation, but we have to look at it under the statute, just so you're aware.
So I calculate that the net floor area would have to decrease to 2484. And all of that reduction would take place on the second floor, which would leave them with a net living area of 2294, which is tight. And I hope the board looks upon this as in such a way that it's.
Well,
Are we open?
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
reopened.
so-
we reopened.
Okay. How many bathrooms are there on the second floor now?
One.
And they're going from 1 to 3?
1 to 2.
That's not how I see
1,
it.
2, 3.
Oh, we have to share them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't care if they shared it or not, there were 3 bathrooms up there. One,
Yes. Yeah, 1 to 3.
3.
Yes.
One is a half bathroom, right?
We have a half bath on the first
Oh, on
floor.
the first floor, the second floor is the floor.
Yeah, there, if we have only 2, the existing bathroom is very, very tiny.
How come we don't have a front yard setback variance?
We're not touching anything in the front of the house. Our closest proximity of an addition is like 50 feet back from the front.
No, but you have existing of 25.3 and you
25.3.
with a 40-foot, it doesn't conform.
Correct.
But then you're putting this new structure on the front. I mean, it's just,
It's
No,
not, it's not on
getting
the
any
front.
closer. Sorry?
No, there's nothing in the front.
There's nothing in the front.
Well, it says contractor shall build new portico over existing stoop, so it's an existing portico.
Oh, the thing's full, yes. So right now they have, this is the house.
Right. But I used to see a portico, I guess in the picture, I couldn't, that there was an existing one, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's up. So we're putting a portico that doesn't have columns. It's a section of roof that comes out 36 inches on brackets.
It's gonna be allowed within that portico exception in the ordinance.
It's less than the 4x6,
Right.
but more importantly, it doesn't count for a building coverage because it doesn't have columns.
Right, exactly.
I was wondering if it had columns or not. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll close the public portion of the meeting one more time. Any other comments from board members? Is there going to be a motion? I
Do
hear
you
a-
wanna go, I'll make a motion to sorry, I'd be willing to make a motion, but
Well,
I
we'll
still
see
don't
if
They
have
we
a
wanna
get-
vote.
sense.
Let's see if we get a second.
Okay, I wanna get a sense of, I don't wanna, I will make a motion.
Why
to-
don't you wanna do the FAR, just the
Yes,
FAR?
yes, let's do FAR. I've lost track of where we are with the FAR, what the final number is.
The FAR would be a variance to request a floor area ratio of 40%.
So moved.
Where 36 is required. Is there a second on the floor area ratio?
I'll second it.
Okay, so, let me figure this out.
No.
Jessica was FAR motion, and Kevin was FAR second. And so I'll call for a vote on the FAR. Ms. McNett?
No.
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 Mr. Plaitner?
No.
Mr. Wenzel?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Glatt?
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg?
Doesn't make any difference, but it's yes.
Okay. So
But
the
it doesn't-
FAR did not carry.
The FAR did not carry.
So, do you want a vote on the remainder? Because it almost seems like,
Well, the remainder, if you bring in the back to cut FAR, goes away.
I mean, if you didn't do the second floor addition, you could, the first floor is her concern. So my
Yes.
question is, you don't get an FAR variance, but your FAR right now is conforming. Will it still be conforming if you put the addition,
Oh, yeah.
only the first floor addition?
Yeah, we're under.
So you do wanna vote on the remaining two variances for rear
Yes.
yard setback and rear yard unoccupied?
I see your point. I think so.
Okay. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Yes, you're talking about
If they forego,
if they forego the
This-
second
this-
floor addition, then
they may be able to at least get her open concept on the first floor with a conforming floor area ratio, which would still require the two rear yard setbacks.
right.
So does someone wanna make a motion on the remaining two variances, rear setback and rear unoccupied?
On the condition that there is no second floor addition.
Well,
Well,
they
they
wouldn't be
can't.
able to.
Right.
You know, they can put
Up to the
up to the limit,
yeah.
up to 36%,
Mhm.
whatever they do.
Yeah. I will move approval for rear yard unoccupied and rear yard setback.
Okay, so that is Ms. McNett.
Is there a second?
Second.
And so, Ms. McNett,
Yes.
Mr. Plaitner,
Yes.
Mr. Wenzel,
Yes.
Ms. Glatt,
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
those two carried.
All right.
You're still gonna have to submit revised plans,
Of course.
so.
All right. Thank you, board.
Well, don't we also have the rear yard setback?
That's included.
We did
Oh, that's
that,
included.
yeah, and
Oh,
we
that
got
was
rid of
both,
the
sorry.
accessory structure.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has a matter to bring before the board that is not on tonight's agenda? I hear none, I see none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're
Oh,
adjourned.
wait, I was supposed to write that stuff down. I lost my sheet. So who moved to adjourn?
I did. Correct.
I second it.
And it was unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's that.